Consulting.
And Philip Robb with Robb Technology Group.
We've got Kalah Sprabeary in the house with Hub Funding Solutions. Kalah, say hi.
Hi, good to be here.
Good to have you. We're super excited about the topic we're going to talk about today, because everybody needs to understand, all these business owners need to understand all of the stuff going along with financing and SBA loans and the PPP and all that stuff. So we're going to get super in depth with that today, and hopefully not be too boring, because it does kind of, there's a lot of information.
Free money.
We want to make sure.
Free money.
Yeah, that's what we all want, right? But yeah, so we're going to dig into that today with the audience. So if the audience has any questions, please go ahead and ask your questions to Kalah, and she'll answer them today.
And you'll have to read those off to me, because I can't see them.
Yep.
That's the best way to do it.
So Kalah, we wanted to just kind of briefly start out, like what got you into this business? How long you've been doing it? What's been going on with your business? Just kind of give us a brief history of that.
Sure. So Hub Funding Solutions is actually kind of our second generation of our lending business. So we originally started with another business 7 years ago that focused on direct lending to oil and gas, trucking, and some different kind of industrial industries to do equipment financing. And then as we went along, we had a lot of people who had other needs. They needed working capital, they needed help with accounts receivable, they needed help with lines of credit. So we evolved. And about 2 years ago, we started Hub Funding Solutions to do some in-house lending. And then also we work with a network of 187 lenders. And we still do some of the same things. It's just transformed really to where somebody can say, hey, I need $250,000. We say, okay, what do you need it for? They tell us what they need it for, and then we provide multiple faceted solutions to really address those needs, not just chunk money at the situation. So yeah, we work with clients all over the nation.
Well, very cool. And one of the things that I like about, the stuff that you're doing is you use a lot of automation, and you've got all kinds of technology, because you guys are still, as far as employees go, it's a small company, but you have leveraged the IT side of things to make sure that you guys are being effective. Can you speak a little bit to that and how you guys use some technology to kind of be able to run more efficiently and effectively?
Yeah, absolutely. So I knew from the beginning that I wanted to work smarter, not harder. And, having a thin staff allows us to be able to help clients without having to charge a lot. We don't have to charge upfront retainers. We don't have to do any of that. The only way anybody ever pays on our traditional lines is if we're successful in securing them funding. And most of the time, they don't even have to pay us. That's actually paid by the lender for helping do all the work and securing that. So in order to do that, we needed to be able to work a little bit smarter. So I instituted some software that helps us from the front end to the back. Somebody can literally go to our website, fill out a little intake form. It puts them into their system. And we communicate with them by booking calls through links. So it's scheduled for the time they need. And it eliminates a lot of the, hey, I'll call you later, hey, I'll call you later, hey, I'll call you later, and really streamline it. And then we put documents into a secure client portal that the client can access. And then we can submit to our lenders or do it in-house right from there. So it's all together. And it looks like I'm frozen, so I just want to make sure y'all are still there.
Yeah, it looks like we lost Cory. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
He's texting me. He said we lost
He'll
him.
be back.
Coming back online.
So yeah, I think it's important to be able to have access for clients and us to be able to make it easier and more secure, because throwing everything through an email is just not secure. We have secure email, but we want to make sure that it's, more secure for our clients.
Welcome back, Cory. We're glad to have you.
Hey guys. Yeah. Yeah, apparently my Wi-Fi was trying to connect to other things while I've already got a live connection. So,
Of
you know,
course it is.
running life on an iPad, that's, you got to just deal with it. So,
So, Kayla, tell me, I own a company. If I want money, and obviously want to borrow some, how does that process work? If I come to you and I say, hey, I got this great idea. Let's say I want to buy a building or maybe expand or whatever it may be that drives me to come to you. How does that process work from the person just showing up at your door?
So if somebody just wants to talk to us about something, it depends. So are we talking about normally or right now?
Let's just say normally, I guess, the start, because I guess that's primarily your business, right? If I came to you and
Right.
I said, hey, I own an IT company and I need some money because I'd like to hire these people and maybe get some equipment, blah, 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 that kind of thing, like, how does that work?
Yeah, so generally, the way it works is somebody either calls, if they have my cell phone, they call my cell phone, or they go to our website and they just call in and they can schedule a time that works for them, and that sets up a time for an interview. And we talk, we go through what their wants and needs are and try to break that down by, okay, tell me what you're needing, tell me what's surrounding that, what's driving that, and then we basically say, okay, these are the options that we would be looking at. We try to give that before, that full transparency of, hey, yes, we can help you and here's what we would be looking at, the different programs, or no, that's not really a fit for us, let's refer you. But most of the time we would just say, okay, thanks, we have everything, we do an application, we gather their documents, take their need, and we go and we get it underwritten and funded. So we do all of our own credit checks in-house. So it doesn't affect people's credit like a hard inquiry. If somebody jumps onto the internet and goes to one of the websites that's quick money, your credit score is going to get destroyed. And we do a soft credit check so we know how to underwrite it without affecting somebody's credit score.
Now, when you say credit check, are you talking about a personal or are you talking about commercial? Or are you talking about
Oh,
both, depending on the situation?
correct. So we do all commercial finance. So there's two types of credit in commercial finance. We do look at the owners, unless it's a corp only situation, which we can talk about at another time. So we're looking at the business's credit score through PayNet. So PayNet is a program that is owned by Equifax. It was actually bought out last year. And your business and your federal EIN number has a credit score. So they look at that. And then we also do a soft check to look at personal credit because we have to underwrite somebody who has 800 credit score differently than somebody who has a 550 credit score. We can still fund both depending on the situation, but we have to make sure that we understand that in order to do it the way that's best for that client.
Now, what if you have somebody who, let's say they're personally wealthy, they're independently wealthy, they got cash in the bank, and they start a brand new company, and they're like, hey, I want to loan some money. This company's got no credit, obviously, because it just started, but hey, I'll personally underwrite it. Is that something you guys do as well?
Are you talking about if they come to us for funding, or are you talking
Yeah, let's
about?
let's say let's say I came to you and I said, "Hey, I'm starting this business. I'm going to start a food truck, let's say, and it's going to cost me 50 grand to buy everything I need. I've got millions in the bank, so and I've got income coming in. That's no problem. But
Right.
obviously, this is a brand new company, and I want to loan it. I don't want, but I want to keep myself cash rich in my personal stuff. Is that something that you can do?
We can, but the thing is if you're going to do that, the best way to do that is to use their cash for operating money. And then we would do startup financing for the equipment, any equipment or physical things that they need to do, even FF&E, so furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We can do that, and they're going to get great tax benefits off of that. Though, but for your standard working capital to just start things out, you
Right.
want to do it yourself. Startup working capital is the most expensive money you can get. I mean, it's ridiculously expensive. And if somebody has the cash, it's better to leverage that to be able to get your equipment, furnitures, fixtures, and equipment, things like that, and get them termed out to get some great tax benefits and then do standard working capital out of their pocket. Now, if they are in an industry where they need to, where they're going to have accounts receivable from other, customers that are in the commercial industry, so business to business type of work, if they're going to be invoicing that, there is a way to do AR finance or purchase option finance or work in progress finance, which takes those POs and invoices and turns them into money on the front end. So that can create cash flow if you use invoices or POs or work orders for manufacturing. So kind of just depends on how your business is, on how we set that up so that it's working with you and not against you.
So it sounds like this is a pretty complex thing, and that's basically one of the reasons that you exist, right? Is that it is incredibly complex, and so I can come to you and say, Kayla, I have no idea, but I want to buy a new server and to serve my customers, and I have no idea how to do it. And it sounds like you know every option to kind of like walk someone through that.
I wouldn't say every single option, because there's a lot of options out there, but all of the major options, yes. We walk through and really see what works best for you. 'Cause there's a lot of options out there, and just chunking, getting just a working capital loan and chunking it to it doesn't always cover it, because I've seen people who have taken out loan, like they went to their bank and got a credit line or a loan, which is great, but they bought what they needed to. They're servicing that debt, or they maxed their credit line out, and then they're stuck. They can't grow. They can't change. They can't pivot. They're just stuck, and they're servicing debt that they still need more resources to be able to move the business forward. So.
Yeah. And, Kayla, we were talking, I guess, yesterday about, you as a resource to kind of help those people out, because you are, you don't maybe know every package, but you do have the expertise that even banks don't have. And so, the banks can give you a loan, but, is it the right loan? Is it the right type of thing that's going on, right?
Right. And that's from experience. So we've had an energy efficiency consulting company. We did energy consulting for builders. We've been in the construction industry. We had an oil and gas service company. I come from a farming background, and those different things in our experience have really been able to provide us with an inside look. So we know how businesses need to look from the inside out. We don't just look at P&Ls and balance sheets and go, oh, well, I think you can do this. We're digging into, okay, how does your business operate? What are your expenses? How do you need to grow? And really dissecting it to see what's going to work in their benefits. Because it's more than just paper. You really have to have that experience to be able to give a professional opinion that can benefit their business instead of just throwing some money at it.
So it sounds to me like you're basically a CFO for these companies, essentially, whenever they need money.
I mean, I think that's a good way to put it, that we can come in and help figure out what they need and then go get it. Because we don't just talk about it, we actually execute.
Yeah, that's great, and you have the experience to say like, you know what? Yeah, that's one way to do it, but this is a better way, and that sounds really neat. So, one of the things I was wondering if you struggled with is, I know a lot of business owners, and you say, hey, can I see your books? And they bring out a 3-ring binder, and they open it, and they go, absolutely, here you go. I'm sure you've had clients like that, and obviously, generally they keep pretty good records. My dad puts everything in binders. What do you do in that case where you don't have I don't have P&Ls, I don't have any of that type of stuff just ready and rearing to go? What do you do for those companies?
Well, let's see. So it depends on how big the company is and where they're at and what they're wanting to do. So we either work with what they have and help them kind of build that out, or we get them with a professional bookkeeper that's all they do. They don't want to be their CPA. They're not going to do their taxes, but they can help build out books. We have some people locally, and then I have a great lady in New Orleans her name is Helen, and she's great. But we have local resources too that can help them just get together what they need. And a lot of that depends on what you're getting. So if you're getting equipment up to $200,000 to $250,000, you don't even need books. But if you're going above that, then you have to have something. But we work with what they have or help connect them with people that can help them make those things. It's trying to provide help all the way around.
That's awesome. So you're not going to turn somebody away and just be like, no.
I've dug through, I've recreated things, I've dug through things, and then they actually just paid us to come in and do that. It really depends on what we're doing, because there's some things that I'm not going to do as well as a bookkeeper who can do it for $500.
Yeah, or sometimes it's fast, right?
Yeah, so Carrie Navarez is great. She's here in Lubbock, and she has legal and accounting experience, and so she is a great resource for that. But we have so many great bookkeepers out there that I think are underutilized that could really be helpful to companies, because she even helps me. I need help with my books too, because that's not my profession. And that's her profession. So, I mean, it's just getting them with the right resources to be able to help them make the most out of their time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's a kind of a good point to make too, is like you're leveraging your resources around you, all of your network and your friends, and putting the right person in the right spot, right? So when you're saying, hey, I'm not really great at bookkeeping, I leverage a network connection, or hey, I'm leveraging this couple $100 maybe or whatever to have that bookkeeper manage this for me, as opposed to you doing it yourself and overexerting yourself. And I know, Kayla, you're a workaholic anyway, so I know she just got, for all those that don't know, she just got done with a very long day yesterday, so.
37 hours. We had some stuff that had to get out, and by the time I quit at 6 o'clock, it had been 37 hours. I had a friend ask me, well, how'd you do that? I'm like, coffee and Jesus. I mean, that was
Have you
about
heard
it.
of Red Bull?
I can't drink it. I can't drink it. It makes me feel like I'm having a heart attack. So I have to go with some good old Tierras Planas coffee.
Heck yeah. Love Carrie Mayfield.
Absolutely.
So,
you want to go ahead and start talking about this, the CARES Act, which is kind of the big thing we want to talk about today, I guess. So I guess we can start talking. I don't have any employees, but I know some people that are listening probably do. And so I guess we can start talking, if you want to, about the PPP loans.
Sure.
Okay, so I've got a few notes here. So basically, it says all small businesses, including nonprofits, self-employed workers, are eligible borrowers. 2.5 times the borrower's average fully loaded monthly payroll costs. Max $10 million per borrower. Is that kind of like the elevator speech version of it?
Yeah, that's a good elevator pitch. So there's a little more that goes into it. So let's back up just a hair. So there is a program out there through the SBA that you sign up on the SBA's website, the EIDL, emergency EIDL. Let's go with that right now. If you can look it up. My brain's a little tired on it. But on that EIDL, it's good for businesses to get on there and at least apply. They're going to ask for documents later on, but at least apply. It is a loan. It is for up to 30 years, and it is 3.75%. So the chamber actually has some great information on that. If you want to look at the chamber, we have some on our website.
Economic
but it's a good
injury disaster loan.
There you go. Economic industry disaster loan.
Injury.
I've been talking in injury.
Yeah.
I've been talking in acronyms. So that's what I keep thinking. So that is a different program than the PPP that's through the CARES Act, right? So the PPP is for payroll, to support payroll for employees. So the way that it's working out really well, what we're seeing is that the PPP works well for people who have employees, including themselves. So if you're an employer and you pay your employees W-2 and you pay yourself K-1, we can always put you in there as well. All right. So,
And just to be sure, because I know some of us aren't up to date on like accounting lingo, I know I'm not. A K-1 is basically when you're just cutting yourself a check, right?
right. You don't pay yourself as a W-2 regularly. You pay yourself throughout the year, and at the end of the year, your accountant cuts you a K-1.
Okay.
So, so that's who it's working best for. 1099s have been back and forth. That's more, if you are 1099s, go to your bank first, because your bank is going to give you more grace than another lender. And we'll get back to that in a minute. So drop that down. We need to talk about that fact. So the PPP is going to work best for those people, and everybody thinks $10 million seems like it's really easy to attain. But we underwrote a company yesterday who had $51 million a year, $52 million a year, and they were more, with all of their employees, was still in the $2 million range. So this is meant to be just for payroll for an 8-week period. It's supportive. This is not the cure-all for your business. This is not to pay off your debt. This is not to support overhead besides payroll. Now, I will say that you can use up to 25% of the funds you get from the PPP towards rent of your commercial building, not your house. It is for the interest on your mortgage. So say you have a commercial building that you pay on. First off, you need to call your bank and ask for a deferral, then have them tack the payments onto the back end of your loan. Okay, that's going to be really important. But it's for the interest on that, not the whole payment. And then your utilities on your commercial building. So payroll, utilities, rent, or mortgage interest. And that's for everything but payroll. It's only 25%. So this is really supposed to be used to support payroll. From what I'm seeing and the ones that we've had approved, most people, as long as they get us their W-2s and their K-1s, we can do it. We ask a few questions about what their benefits are, because the benefits can be added into the amount. But it's calculated based on your payroll, not based on what you made, not based on what you lost. So if you lost money last year, you can still apply, as long as you have employees or yourself as a K-1.
So really, the point of this is really to retain your talent. You obviously, like every business, has worked hard to find that talent, train that talent, and obviously, like, you don't want to lose that vital resource. So this is designed to help you retain that talent that you have, and obviously keep everybody from just losing their jobs all at once. Is that right?
Absolutely. So the purpose of the emergency loans is to be able to keep people off of unemployment, help businesses stay working, or at least retain their people when they can open back up, right? And it's also to help with, if you can't pay if you have to choose whether to pay your people or your rent on your commercial building, I can figure out which one you're probably going to do. And so you can use up to 25% of that to keep the lights on and to keep the doors availably open.
Now, I heard this in some of my research. I'm not sure if I understand this correctly. So let's say I'm a restaurant and I fired everyone, and I'm just like, get out of here. I don't have money. Can't you apply for the PPP and rehire those employees?
Yes, you can. So if you had to furlough or lay people off, you can do the PPP with the intention to rehire them. But you have to prove that you rehired them, and you have to rehire them within 30 days of you getting this money, and you're going to have to turn around and prove it. If you want the PPP forgiven, you have to prove it. And we need to talk about that, about the back end of this that people are not talking about. But really, you're supposed to be either retaining or rehiring. Now, if your business has shrunk down, if right now you're working, but some of our businesses that have had to shut down due to like they can't actually physically be open and they had to reduce staff, they can get it ready to rehire. They can keep them on payroll through the PPP. They're not using their own money. Keep those people paid. and then be able to move forward. Now, there are some things that are going on with the families first part of this that has to do with HR. I would highly suggest bringing on somebody who's an HR professional to talk more about in the weeds on that, because that's not me. But I would highly suggest that. But it's to be able to keep your people working, and yourself. Don't forget to put yourself in there. If you're a K1 or a W2 in your company, you can prove it, then don't forget about yourself. You are a huge part of your business. It wouldn't be there without you.
Yeah, that, no, I know, I had a business where I kind of ran into a funding crisis, and when your stress level is just way up here, you're not doing very good for the business anyways. Now I see that it says subject to compensation limit of $100,000 per employee. So can you actually turn down people's salaries? If you say, hey, this is great, but I'm paying you $150,000 a year. I really can't afford that right now. Is it okay with the PPP to say, hey, I'm going to pay you 80 since we're not really doing much right now?
To be honest, that's going to be an HR question.
Okay.
So I do know on the front side of that, when we're calculating it, so we actually have to look at every single person, every single employee's W-2 or K-1, especially the W-2s, and say they normally make $150,000 a year. For this 8-week period that is compensating them, it's reduced to what they would be making. It caps at $100,000. Okay. So in the spreadsheet, I put in $150,000, and then it caps it at $100,000 and puts that into the calculation.
So when you're applying for the PPP loan, basically, if you've got 3 people making $150,000, your PPP loan is going to be calculated like those 3 people are making $100,000, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And then after that, it's up to you, but that's what the calculation is based on. It won't even let us do that. There's no way to game the system on that, because it has to be proved by documents. But here's the basic fact is that, yes, you are used to making a lot more, but if you can still go in and make up to the equivalent of $100,000 in a year, still be able to make what that amount is for 8 weeks, it's better than nothing.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Should at least be able to pay your liabilities.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you said, I know you mentioned this a little bit, the 1099 contractors, I've heard different things from different sources. Some people saying, hey, those are included. Some people saying, hey, they're not. Some people saying, well, we're not really sure, and you don't want the government to come back and be like, ha ha ha, nope, later. What is your view on that?
So current view today, we had been told by some of our national lenders, we're not going to do the 1099s. It's not as provable. It's hard. It's going to be hard to prove that. And I think the issue comes with, there are 2 types of 1099ers, right? There are 1099 employees who work for you on a regular basis who you're paying 1099. And then there's the guy who came in and painted your office, or your accountant or your landlord that you still give a 1099 to, but they don't work for you. And 1099s actually have the ability to go get their own PPP loan starting tomorrow. So I think that's been the issue. Now, on a local bank level, our local banks that we're working with, we're underwriting for a few banks here, is that if you're 1099 and they know your business, then it's going to be easier to prove. I think it just depends all on their situation.
Yeah, so I guess if I said like, hey, I've got Cory here, and Cory is my chief operations guy, and he kind of does it on and off, so he does it, he's here every Wednesday at 12, or something like that, and I pay him $1,200 a month, and I've done that for 2 years straight. A local bank's gonna look at that and go, oh yeah, we can understand that, we can do that, most likely.
Now, if he only works for you.
Right. Well, let's say he only works for me for the sake of argument, right? Yeah, if he owns his own business, then he needs to go do it himself, right?
Right.
But I guess because I worked at some big companies like Google, and I know that they have an entire class of employees that are like contractors that, hey,
yes.
We don't want to do sales on this product, so we'll hire 1099 people to come in and do that. So those are the types of people you're looking for, not somebody that this guy did a bunch of sheetrock work for me, and so I have to cut him a 1099.
Right. He can file his own and show all the 1099s that he's done, but it depends on if they work solely for you or they float.
Okay.
You know, if they're floating to different customers or different clients, then they're going to need to file their own. So I think that's what they're trying to figure out, is what makes 1099s, I don't know,
A consistent means of employment, essentially.
Yeah. What's consistent and who's not? I think that's the big thing with 1099, because 1099 is its own animal. I would say if somebody has a lot of 1099, they need to talk to their local bank first. And then if, like, Wells Fargo is sending us people, we've gotten some from Citibank, we've gotten some from Bank of America that are coming to us because their banks have shut them off.
Yeah, I understand. Wells Fargo said that they were going to only do like 10 billion or something like that, and they've already did it, and they said, that's it. Just, I guess, limit their liabilities.
Yeah. So I want people to go to their local bank first, but if their local bank turns them away or they're not helping them, they're just kind of pushing them back, then they can go to our website and apply, and we'll put them through a national SBA lender. It's not a bank. Okay, so they don't want your account. They're just doing these SBA PPP loans because they do SBAs all day long. That's all they do.
And from what I understand, they're making like 1% in 90 days. Isn't that right? So, I mean, it's a great return on investment for them.
Right. And most people that apply, it's going to be forgiven, but they're doing that. I mean, it's it's a good thing for the people who really need it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say, this may inform the government later on for, these 1099 employees. There may be a distinction. Hey, it's a kind of a one-off job versus a steady thing. So this right here may kind of shed some light on some things that were kind of ambiguous, and now we're getting into they may create a new classification of employees out of this.
I know that it's especially for those big companies. They have to be very careful with what they do with 1099 employees. I did contract work as a 1099 contractor for a Fortune 500, and I remember they had to fill out paperwork if I went to lunch with them, and the company paid for it. I mean, it was every single time we would go to lunch, they would be like, all right, who here's a contractor? Raise my hand. And they'd be like, all right, come see me. We got to fill this out, just because we went to lunch.
Wow. So we actually used to have, when we had our oil field service company, when we bought it, everybody was a 1099. And we literally had to go overnight, meet with the IRS lady here. I had to sit down with her and go, okay, what do I need to do to transition these guys to W-2? Because that's what they actually should be. So that was an interesting process. It wasn't hard. Nobody died. We did it in January, but I think this is going to really, you're right. I mean, the IRS is going to have to take a look at what constitutes 1099. Do we need a new class? How should this be done? And it's nothing we're going to be able to stop, because it just needs to be done so that people have a better way to work. I've been a 1099 contractor.
Yeah, I have as well. I think it'd be great if they had a 1099A and a 1099B, or something like that.
It's that easy. It's that easy.
Yep. And so and I'm in that boat, because I will have a client that is a recurring monthly client, and then I'll have a project. So somebody wants this specific thing done, I go in there and do that specific thing. So that's just like, hey, this is your COO that works for you, and he's 1099, and then you've got the guy that came and painted the office today.
I was thinking, one of my clients is they do rental properties. And they've got one construction guy. He's not full. He does work with other people, but I mean, it doesn't go a week without him doing something for them. So he's a consistently paid person from this company as a 1099. It's like, well, you get a check every week at least. So what is that then? Because he's still got work from other people, but that's a very, very blurry area.
It is. I would love to hear the thoughts on that from somebody in the accounting world on, just talking about just that subject. I mean, what their thoughts on it. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly messy.
Yeah, for sure. That's why they're professionals. That's why it exists.
So shifting a little bit off this, now I know that they're using the word, these loans are eligible to be forgiven. Can you explain? Obviously, I know what forgiven means, but I'm very eligible to be forgiven is the part I'm scared about. Can you tell me what that means?
Right. So here's the big thing with it, and this is not cohesive. I can end up posting something that will say, in order to be forgiven, these are the things you have to do, because I don't have the list in front of me right now. But the funds from the PPP, not the EIDL, the PPP, they have to be put in a separate bank account at your current bank. So that's the first part. The bank will help you set that up. That's what they've been doing. They have people set up just to do that. Okay. So what you would just let your bank know after you get approved from the PPP, either through us or anybody else, is that you'll need to set up a separate bank account where you have your operating note. Okay. So wherever you have your operating bank account, you will have this PPP account. The funds go into that PPP account, and the only way that they are paid out is for payroll, is for up to 25% of your rent or your insurance, your interest for your mortgage payment, and utilities. You can pay them out of that. But this is not one that you want to spend anything else out of. It needs to be just that, or you're going to fall into that amount may not be forgiven.
So essentially, if you follow the rules, and obviously I'm sure there's going to be some type of reporting requirement,
yes.
As long as you do that, you're good.
We have to say you're good, because I can't.
As far as that's the basics of it. I mean, obviously, there's probably a lot of fine print with everything the government does, but but that's the kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, just be honest on the front side. Do what you're supposed to do. Be honest on the back side.
And then I guess oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You have to have the paperwork to back it up. You're going to have to show bank statements. You're going to have to show pay stubs and reports. You're going to have to be able to show, even if you're a smaller business and you don't use a payroll company, you're going to have to be able to show pay stubs. If you handwrite your checks, you're going to have to show a breakdown of what you pulled out for the taxes, which why this is a big thing with W-2, right? Because what do you always have to do? You have to do your 941s and your 940s. You have to show all of that. You're going to be reporting to Texas Workforce Commission. That's why W-2s are the most standard thing they're doing in this. So you're going to have to show all of these things to be able to show I used it to pay my people. I didn't hoard it. I hired people back, and I can prove it. And here's how I paid them. It's going to be really hard to game the system. So if somebody's trying to game the system, there's going to be some bad repercussions, because you've got to prove it all.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be difficult with small businesses that don't keep those paperwork, like writing those checks out of a regular checkbook versus the pay stubs and the payroll and all that. Some of these small businesses, especially out here in West Texas, they just run a business and they sell something, and that's just, they don't keep a whole lot of good paperwork sometimes. And it really is difficult to prove that. And so they need to be setting up those systems, if they're not set up already, to track that and to and have a process of, hey, this is how we track things and this is how we keep these records. Because I think you're right. If you try to game the system, or if you're not really trying to game the system, but you're not that organized as a business, then you've got some real problems on the back end when you do need to prove it to the IRS that, guess what, this is what we use that fund for.
And I guess that's why you're doing a separate bank account, is to make that accounting super easy.
Yeah, and I didn't know that the bank account,
you can't hear us?
kind of.
We can barely hear you, Kayla.
There we go. I couldn't hear you at all.
There we go.
Okay, so
Oh,
I don't know.
I said, basically, I was kind of saying like, Corey was mentioning, hey, obviously it's really important to keep track of all this kind of thing, and I'm guessing that's basically one of the reasons they're wanting you to do it on a separate bank account to make it to where, because they're going to obviously have millions of businesses or thousands, I don't know how many, doing this, and if you do just say, hey, print me out a bank statement, bam, there's the in and outs of all the funds. That makes it way easier, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're losing you again, Kayla.
We're losing her again.
Yeah, I can barely hear.
Oh man. Yeah, I think that's going to be that's going to be a big battleground, basically, of these small businesses trying to make sure that they keep their paperwork correct. And I didn't know anything about that separate bank account, so that's a pretty neat thing they're doing. She's definitely got her mute button on, so.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
absolutely.
I think
Okay.
you tapped
I
mute.
don't know. I'm trying to do this on my phone because my laptop had to go to the hospital. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. But people can keep records on an Excel spreadsheet. They can, you just have to prove they could, for a smaller business, if you're keeping things on a spreadsheet and you're keeping copies of all of your checks. For your little businesses, I think that's going to be more acceptable. Now, if you're a really large business, you need to go get professional help.
Oh
At
yeah.
least for the bookkeeper. But your littles, I don't want them to be afraid to apply because of that, because we're going to help. So when it comes to reporting time, we're going to be helping our customers report and answering those questions. We're not just here for the front end. We're here all the way through.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be important. This is, it's a big deal. And we want people to be able to be prepared. But as long as you're willing to run your business the way you should be running your business. There's a lot of us out there that, I used to be a little bitty company, and I just knew at a certain point, hey, I got to change the way I'm doing this. I knew in the back of my mind, hey, I need to be doing this or that. I need to be having a bookkeeper helping me. I need to have, be doing these things on a regular basis. You just have to do it. And then it actually feels so much better when you're able to put that on somebody else.
Well, and Kayla and I feel like we get along quite well because we have the same mindset on how a business should be run, and you were thinking about expansion because you knew it was going to happen. You knew that you were going to have more clients tomorrow than you did today, and when you know, and when you feel that, then you start making those changes and saying, "Hey, I've got to expand my capacity to do this," and the way I do that is start delegating tasks out. Start automating some of the things and we've talked in length about the cool things that you do. I mean, and I think you complimented or thanked me earlier for suggesting a software platform to you, and you've suggested software platforms to me just to automate some of the stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I need. I've even I think we've had long conversations about like, here's exactly what I need, and you said, let me show you this. And so, I think if you're a business owner and you understand that right now we're in kind of compression mode where we don't have a lot of money, but we got a lot of time. We can work on the business. We can kind of put those capacity things into play. And I've got a meeting this afternoon with a company. They're working on their capacity right now. And so Kayla's we're thinking about, how do I, get more time in my day to work on the things that I really need? I am the linchpin of the financing thing. I am not the linchpin of my accounting and my bookkeeping. We need to have somebody else do that, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I have a lot of help. So I have somebody that helps me with my IT, that helps me with my software, that helps me with my marketing, that helps me with my bookkeeping, that helps me. Debbie was. She is my golden star because she helps with everything that I'm weak at. She is our document guru because she is amazing at that. I'm more of into the problem solving and seeing what it takes and doing underwriting and nerd stuff that I love. I don't know how that changed, but we'll talk about that another time. But, and then I have account managers because I know that I can't handle every call, and I have account managers that are amazing and they know how to really help people communicate. And my account managers are contractors right now, and then I have an employee or two, and it's that flex in there. It's the building the business, because you have to work out of faith over fear.
Yeah.
And it will, the business will mature with you, but when you start getting all the little things off your plate, it gives you the ability to expand even during this time. I mean, I've seen so much innovation, like from Pecan Ridge, and from Carrie Mayfield has done great at innovating, but this is a time to innovate. You
Yeah.
know, turn off the TV, get off of Netflix, and think about your business. You know, watch podcasts, look at how you can adapt and change. You don't have to hide in a hole right now.
Yeah. And, there's a business owner that I know that, they're just kind of sitting back and relaxing right now. And it's kind of hard to watch. But go pick up a book, Amazon's still got all kinds of things on the books. We do have a question, actually.
Sure.
Renell Bays, we love Renell, says, do you know what happens if funds from PPP are used to add additional employees, like a new employee?
Correct. They can do that. So they can add employees to the business. So say you had people leave right before this, it's based off of last year's. It's a complicated calculation. It depends on the business. But if you've been an established business for a few years and you had some people leave right before this, or you have openings, then you can use this money on a calculation to hire. What you don't want to do is, if you had 20 employees last year, you have 5 right now, and you're only going to keep it at 5, you don't want to hire anybody else, then only take what it would be for that amount. Okay, because you're going to have to prove that you spent it. But yes, you can use the money to rehire or hire new talent.
So I guess if somebody, laid off and said, "Hey man, I'm sorry, we got to lay you off," and he says, "Oh, I've already got another job," when you try to rehire him, it's perfectly okay to say,
Right.
"Hey, okay, all right, I'll find someone else." And obviously, I'm sure with the 31 whatever percent unemployment, that's not that hard.
Yeah, it's nauseating.
So if I didn't have an assistant and I've never had an assistant, and I wanted to hire I feel like it's a good time to hire an assistant. I couldn't necessarily just create a new position out of thin air and hire a new employee using this PPP.
Correct. This is to keep the status quo. This is not for growth. If you want to do something that's growth, that's a different kind of conversation. That is a conversation where you're not necessarily in trouble right now. If you are not in trouble right now and you're in growth mode, we need to talk about a totally different system that runs into 7As and growth mode. That's a different thing. And we actually have businesses right now that are in growth mode. I talked with a sanitizing company, and they were talking about how they had gotten some contracts, and we discussed what they can do for growth mode and what steps they can take in creating funding for that growth mode.
So
just a different conversation.
Is there any businesses that you would not recommend? At least, I mean, if your dollar amount you're making per month has gone down, obviously because of this, you've been impacted some by COVID. Is there any reason that a business owner should not be looking into these programs?
I think it would just be more along the guidelines. I have a friend who has a business, and it's been impacted by this, but she's comfortable, and it wouldn't help her right now anyways because she can't go operate, right? And she's comfortable, she's okay, she's going to wait. That doesn't mean that she can't. This is open for a while, okay? This isn't shutting off tomorrow.
And
people
this
have some time.
The end of June, right? June 30th or something like that. June. But there is a cap to how much money they're going to give out, right?
There is, but they actually just added more.
Okay, so probably not something we should worry about.
Don't please don't take this the wrong way. The media is really not helping the situation. They are fear-mongering people, and they are panicking, when the thing is not everybody is going to be approved for the PPP. you have to be able to qualify and have the things for them to do it. So especially with the 1099 thing being in limbo, it's going to be interesting to see. I do not believe it is a bottomless bucket, but I think the bucket is deeper than initially thought.
So it would behoove you to go ahead and start this now and not say, well, I've got something to do. I've got to go play golf this weekend. This is probably something you should go ahead and jump on, though, right?
People really need to be proactive about their businesses. They need to take a hard look at, with the cash reserves that I have right now, can I continue to pay my people for the next 3 to 6 months? If that is a no, then they need to look at PPP. Now, I know the last we were told, the only industries that cannot qualify are multi-level marketing and vices. So strip clubs, alcohol, cannabis can't apply, or real estate investment firms. If you fall into any of those, you need to get with your banker to talk about other options, because the PPP may not be available to you. And if you think about it, alcohol sales have gone through the roof. It's a different type of environment. So, but yeah, most all other businesses, if you have probably 3 or more employees, the PPP is a good option. If you are, if you have 1 employee and yourself, it's still possible. Just know that it's only going to cover 8 weeks. That's what it's calculated for. You don't get to say, hey, I pay out $6,000 a month. I want $500,000, because it doesn't work that way.
So when you said, I'm interested because you said vices like alcohol. So are bars out for this? I mean, because they've been completely shut down.
Bars are on the fence. If you are considered more of a restaurant that has a bar, then that's different. But I haven't had any bars come in so far, so I can't give personal experience. Okay. But from what they had told us, vices are not in it.
Interesting. Well, Kayla, one of the things that we wanted to definitely ask today is, like, if there's one thing that a business owner should be doing right now, what is it? What, in your opinion, what is the number one thing that just any business owner should be doing right now?
They should be taking a hard look at their business. This is not the time to sit back and watch Netflix. You need to be figuring out how you can innovate, how you can get assistance either through the EIDL or the PPP, or both, because you can do both. They need to be figuring out how they're going to move forward. This will end, and when it does, are you still going to be standing? This is not the time to be complacent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great piece of advice. Again, I'm working on my business. I know Philip is doing some additional certifications. How's that going, by the way, Philip?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had to sit down and study. I tell you, when you haven't done that for 2 or 3 years, it's definitely a learning curve to studying again. But yeah, it's going. Keep hard working at it.
Yeah, working on your business and putting some intent into things and saying, let's really hone down on some things. I think that's a great piece of advice, Kayla. What should people be reading or watching on blogs or podcasts or whatever?
To be honest, I've had my head buried a lot because when we took this on, I was going to sit back, and then I was talking to a friend, and they said, hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So that's why we started it. But I definitely think, first off, you need to be listening to things like the SBDC and reading things about what's going on around you, but pick your sources wisely. This is not the time to listen to things on Reddit. You need to actually be finding good sources. And, if you're faith-based, there's, what is it called? The Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur is great. It's been a great program for me. And then if you're not, and you're just looking for something, I know Tony Robbins is good. There's a lot of good options. Cory, if you have any, throw in there. I mean, it's just something that you need to be finding what works for you and really innovating and looking at yourself and going, how can I get out of my box? What is going to make me? So if every restaurant could do it, I would tell all of them to knock a hole in the side of their building and make a drive-through.
Yeah.
All of them.
All of them. Yeah.
Because
there's a Whataburger over in the Overton area next to the university, and there's no drive-through, and it's never had a drive-through, but it's kind of tucked in this back corner. They're shut down. They went from 24 hours to 0 hours because they kind of put themselves in that bind when they built it that way, and so they can't adjust. And I've talked to you about it. I've talked to Philip, and I've talked to a lot of people. When the street closes, and we're going to talk to somebody later this month, they had tornado damage, and so when your street closes, you have to take all of the things out of your brick and mortar and put it somewhere else, or you just need to shut your doors for 3 weeks, a month, whatever, until all that stuff is resolved.
Yeah, I think it's so important. Oh, sorry, Cory, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I also think it's hugely important to remember you are operating outside your business model. So you originally sat down and said, okay, I've got 3 employees. I've got this amount of fixed costs and my rent and everything else. How many, say you sell hamburgers, say you're McDonald's, how many burgers do I have to sell to break even now? Because that number is different today. And what I would be really worried about is somebody opening, say their restaurant just drive-through only, like, well, how do you know if you're losing money or not every day? If you have not sat down and you have not written out, hey, okay, well, instead of 5 employees, we only have 2 now. Okay, you still need to know those numbers. Those numbers are still very important because you could dig yourself in a deeper hole if you're not careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is that if somebody's not really sure what they need to do to innovate in their business, that's why Cory exists.
Absolutely.
Because people like him give overall direction, okay, and go in and figure out, we do the finance side. That's what we do. But people like Cory and Lubbock Consulting come in and actually help create the plan, the business plan, look at things, how can we innovate? And that's important. Even if you just do a consultation and, be able to do that, it still gets you further. You don't have to be in the dark. You don't have to sit. You just have to be open to taking action. That's, you can talk more about that, Cory.
Yeah. And I'd love to continue to get more compliments from you. But we do need to wrap it up. Kayla, it was great to have you on the show today. We loved hearing about this. This is going to continue to be, it's recorded on Facebook. So we did live, and it'll be here in perpetuity. And we're super excited to be able to share that with everybody out there. Yes, Kayla.
So I wanted to say, go to your bank first, but if your bank isn't helping you, you just have to go to hubfundingsolutions.com and fill out our intake form so that we know how to talk to you when we do talk.
Perfect. Yeah, and where else can they find you? Hubfunding.com, and then where else, like on Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, we're on, it's hubfundingsolutions.com, just our name out long. We have a Facebook page, Hub Funding Solutions. We have a LinkedIn page, and then, I have my personal LinkedIn as well. But our website is the best way to get information, and we talk to everybody after they do that intake form.
Awesome.
We just want to make sure we know how to help them. It's just helps it all work.
Well, cool. Yeah. So thank you for being on the show today, Kayla. Check her out, hubfundingsolutions.com. Next Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, we have Jimmy Blackman, a former Army colonel, and he's doing some great things. He's an author and a public speaker now. So we're going to have him on next Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we've got Carrie Thuitt with Fully Fueled Fitness, going to teach us a little bit about how to stay healthy, in this new environment, because we're all trapped inside, right? So she's going to teach us how to eat healthy and to stay healthy in the home. So thanks again, Kayla. Thanks, thanks to Philip as well for with all the technology. And so we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Have a great day, everyone.